The government arrests you at midnight. No charges. No lawyer. No trial date. You simply disappear. This has happened in America 3 times. And one ancient legal phrase is the only thing standing between you and a cell. Habeas corpus. 2 Latin words that translate to "you shall have the body." It sounds simple. But this phrase represents 800 years of humanity fighting against unchecked power. Here is what it actually means. When authorities detain you, habeas corpus forces them to bring you before a judge and justify why. No secret prisons. No indefinite detention. No disappearing people. The Founding Fathers considered it so essential they wrote it directly into the Constitution. Article 1, Section 9 specifically limits when it can be suspended. But here is the question that has haunted America since its founding. What happens when a president decides those limits do not apply to him? The answer nearly destroyed constitutional government 3 separate times. April 1861. Confederate forces had just attacked Fort Sumter. The nation was literally splitting apart. President Abraham Lincoln faced an impossible situation. Maryland surrounded Washington, D.C. If Maryland joined the Confederacy, the capital would be trapped behind enemy lines. Pro-Confederate mobs were attacking Union troops in Baltimore. So Lincoln made a decision that shocked the nation. He suspended habeas corpus along the military corridor between Philadelphia and Washington. Federal troops began arresting Confederate sympathizers without charges. No trials. No lawyers. Just military detention. If this is blowing your mind already, drop a like because what happened next changed constitutional law forever. One arrest in particular would reach the Supreme Court and force America to answer a fundamental question. Can a president simply ignore the Constitution during wartime? Let me put this in perspective. John Merryman was a wealthy Maryland landowner and Confederate sympathizer. Military officers arrested him at 2 a.m. on May 25, 1861. No warrant. No charges. Just soldiers breaking down his door. His lawyers immediately filed for habeas corpus with Chief Justice Roger Taney. And here is where it gets complicated. Taney was sitting as a circuit judge in Baltimore. He issued the writ demanding the military produce Merryman in court and explain the detention. The military commander refused. He cited Lincoln's suspension order. Taney was furious. He wrote a blistering opinion called Ex parte Merryman declaring that only Congress could suspend habeas corpus. The president had no such power. Lincoln ignored him. For the first time in American history, a president defied a direct order from the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Now imagine you are Lincoln. The country is falling apart. Spies and saboteurs threaten the Capitol. And a judge just told you that you cannot protect the nation. What would you do? Lincoln's argument was chillingly logical. The Constitution says habeas corpus can be suspended during rebellion or invasion. It does not specify who can suspend it. And if following the Constitution means losing the country, should the president let one law destroy all the others? He famously asked, are all the laws but one to go unexecuted and the government itself go to pieces? This reasoning terrified constitutional scholars. Because once you accept that emergencies justify ignoring rights, where does it end? Who decides what counts as an emergency? The Civil War eventually ended. But Lincoln's precedent did not. It sat there like a loaded weapon waiting for the next crisis. But that was just the setup. What happened 80 years later was worse. December 7, 1941. Japan attacks Pearl Harbor. Within weeks, President Franklin Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066. Over 120,000 Japanese Americans were forced from their homes into internment camps. Most were American citizens. Born on American soil. The crime? Looking like the enemy. And here is what nobody expected. The Supreme Court upheld it. In Korematsu v. United States, the court ruled that military necessity justified mass detention without individual charges. No habeas corpus hearings. No proof of disloyalty required. Just your ancestry. If you want to see how this constitutional nightmare finally ended, make sure you are subscribed because the redemption took 40 years. September 11, 2001. Terrorists attack New York and Washington. The Bush administration faces a new enemy. And they reach for Lincoln's loaded weapon. But this time, they found the loophole. Guantanamo Bay. It is technically Cuban territory leased to America. The administration argued that constitutional protections including habeas corpus did not apply there. Drop your prediction in the comments. Did you think the Supreme Court would let them get away with it? Hundreds of detainees were held for years without charges. No access to lawyers. No way to challenge their detention. Some were actual terrorists. Others were innocent men sold to American forces for bounties. And without habeas corpus, there was no way to tell the difference. The stage was set for the most important habeas corpus case in modern history. June 2008. Boumediene vs. Bush. The Supreme Court ruled 5-4 that Guantanamo detainees have constitutional habeas corpus rights. Justice Anthony Kennedy wrote that the Constitution protects fundamental liberties wherever the government exercises control. The geographic loophole slammed shut. And here is the revelation that changes everything. The court explicitly referenced the failures of Korematsu. They acknowledged that fear of foreign threats had led America astray before. They refused to let it happen again. This single decision restored what Lincoln suspended, what Roosevelt ignored, and what Bush tried to circumvent. 800 years of legal protection survived. The Great Writ endured. Not because presidents respected it, but because eventually, courts enforced it. That is the real lesson of habeas corpus. Rights only exist if institutions defend them. So what does this mean for you today? Habeas corpus remains your fundamental protection against government overreach. If authorities detain you unlawfully, you can demand they justify it before a judge. No president, no emergency, no geographic loophole can permanently eliminate that right. But here is the uncomfortable truth. It took the Supreme Court 60 years to admit Korematsu was wrongly decided. 60 years of that stain on American law.